I paid $30,000 for my sister's wedding, then found out I wasn't invited. I'm 32, my name is Sarah. And here I sit in my rundown rental apartment, looking at a bank account balance of $412 thinking, what the hell have I done with my life? No, seriously. This isn't some dramatic flourish. This is the reality that just hit me like a punch to the gut. I just gave away all my savings, absolutely everything, so my younger sister Jessica could marry her fiancé Thomas. And this is what I got in return. But first let me rewind. I need to start by saying I have always been the responsible daughter. Since childhood. My dad left when I was 15, leaving mom with 2 daughters and a mountain of debt. Jessica was only 10. While my classmates were out having fun after school, I was heading to work. First McDonald's, then a supermarket cashier, then 2 jobs at once so mom could finally catch a breath. I learned early what it meant to grind. Mom always called me our lifesaver, our little hero. I believed it. I liked feeling that way, like that they relied on me. I'm the strong one. I can handle anything. My biggest dream was to go to Berkeley. Not for music like most people assume, but for economics. I wanted to become a financial analyst, to pull us out of this swamp once and for all. I saved every single cent, worked late into the night when everyone else was asleep, just to study for the entrance exams. It was my goal, my light at the end of the tunnel. When I was 25, I was so close. I had the necessary amount for the first year of tuition and living expenses. I had even filled out the application. And then Jessica came home, beaming with a ring on her finger that, admittedly, was too big for her delicate hands, but she looked at it like it was a crown. Tom had proposed. That would have been wonderful if not for one crucial detail. Tom was from a very respectable, very wealthy family. And Jessica was my younger sister, who had never truly known hardship the way I had. She always got the best that mom could offer. I always gave in to her. And she expected it, as if it were her due. A week after the engagement, mom initiated the conversation. She was sitting in the kitchen, teacup in hand, her eyes filled with that weary, nagging guilt that I knew by heart. Sarah dear, she started. You know Jessica dreams of a big wedding. Tom's family. Well, they expect a certain standard. We can't let them down. You understand, don't you? I knew exactly where she was going. Thomas's family lived in a different world, where $30,000 was pocket money. For us it was a lifetime. Mom, I'm happy for her, truly, I replied, gripping my mug. But I have my Berkeley money. That's what I've worked for 7 years. Mom sighed. It was a silent accusation. That's, I said. Are you really prioritizing your education over your sister's happiness? Of course your education is important, she said, avoiding eye contact. But a wedding is a once-in-a-lifetime thing, Sarah. And you can apply next year. Or the year after. You're so smart you'll catch up. But Jessica, she's so fragile. If the wedding is modest, she will suffer. Think about how that will affect her marriage, her relationship with Thomas's family. You don't want her to be embarrassed, do you? I eventually gave in. I canceled the application, withdrew all $30,000, and transferred it to Mom. The whole thing happened in 1 week. I told myself, it's family, Sarah. You're doing this for them. They'll be grateful. The next 3 weeks were a frenzy of preparation. I helped choose the dress, compiled guest lists, and coordinated vendors. I was everywhere except in my own life. I did everything to make the wedding perfect. I wanted Jessica to be happy. I wanted Mom to be proud. But then came the day when that whole illusion shattered. The wedding was scheduled for Saturday. On Wednesday evening, I stopped by Mom's place to finalize the last details. I was holding the printed guest list, and my heart was singing. I imagined Mom raising a toast to me. I pictured Jessica hugging me and saying, "Thank you." I saw Mom talking on the phone, nervously pressing the receiver to her ear. She didn't notice me immediately. Yes, I understand everything," she was saying into the phone. "Yes, we don't want any problems." "No, she won't be. I'll tell her myself." "Yes, you're right. It will be better for everyone." She hung up and only then saw me. Her face instantly went pale, as if she had seen a ghost. "Mom? What's wrong?" I asked, feeling something clench inside me. She looked away. For several long seconds she just stared at her hands. And then finally she forced out, "Sarah, darling, there are some complications. The wedding. Well, Thomas's family is very conservative, and they're very concerned about their reputation." I waited for her to continue. I waited for the worst. They think your presence might create tension. You have such a complicated life. You're always so stressed, always working. They don't want their celebration to be ruined. They want everything to be perfect. We decided. You won't be there. The guest list I was holding slipped to the floor. I didn't hear it land. My ears were ringing. My breath stopped. I just stared at her. My mother. The person who was supposed to protect me. The person I had sacrificed everything for. You. What did you just say? It wasn't a shout, but some kind of hoarse alien sound. To avoid creating tension, Mom repeated, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. It's for Jessica, Sarah. You know how important it is for her to join that family. I paid $30,000 for my sister's wedding, then found out I wasn't invited. And this is just the beginning of the story. The air in that kitchen felt thick, like a physical barrier between me and my mother. It was Wednesday. The wedding was 3 days away. $30,000 ago, I was her hero. Now I was a source of tension. You need to explain that, I managed to say. My voice was low, dangerously steady. I wasn't shouting, I felt hollowed out. Shouting would mean I still cared enough to fight. Mom wrung her hands. She couldn't look me in the eye. That's her classic tell. The moment she knows she's doing something profoundly wrong, she studies the pattern on the kitchen counter. Sarah, please don't make this difficult, she pleaded. It's already hard enough. Thomas's mother, Carol, she called me. She was very nice but very firm. She said that a wedding is a reflection of the family. And you're always so stressed. Stressed, I repeated, a bitter laugh catching in my throat. I'm stressed because I work 60 hours a week to send you money, and then pay for her perfect goddamn wedding. What kind of reflection am I supposed to be? The one who actually supports this family? That's not fair. Mom finally looked up, her eyes watery, immediately playing the victim. We appreciate everything you've done, but Carol is worried. She saw you once at the bridal shower, remember? You were quiet, checking your phone for work emails. She got the impression you were unhappy. She told me, we want only positive energy, positive faces, Mary. We can't risk any negativity. The sheer absurdity of it made my head spin. I wasn't just paying for the wedding. I was funding a performance where I didn't fit the cast. My presence, my real hardworking, exhausted self, was deemed negative energy. So the $30,000 I gave you? Is that negative too, Mom? I asked. Or does money suddenly stop carrying tension once it's in your bank account? Don't talk about money like that. It was a gift. A generous, selfless act, and we are grateful. But this is about image, Sarah. This is about Jessica's future. If Carol sees anything that suggests instability in our family, it could affect everything. Thomas is a good catch. They have status. We need to be careful. The worst part was that she was saying this with conviction. She truly believed she was protecting Jessica. And in a terrifying way, she was also protecting the lie that we were a perfectly put-together family who could afford a lavish wedding. My absence was necessary to maintain the illusion. I didn't say anything more about the money. I couldn't. It felt too cheap, too transactional, even though it was the core of the problem. I just stood there, taking in the full measure of my mother's betrayal. It wasn't just a slight. It was a total erasure of my value as a person, reducing me to a financial resource that was now inconveniently visible. And Jessica? I finally asked. Does she know? Did she agree to this? Mom hesitated. She was upset at first. She was worried about your feelings. But I told her. I explained that it was necessary. She understood that she can't afford to upset Carol right now. This is too important. She was worried about your feelings. Not she stood up for you. Not she refused to have a wedding without you. She was worried. Just another inconvenience for her. Where is she now? I demanded. She's at Thomas's house, getting ready. She's overwhelmed, with all the planning. The sheer nerve. The planning I did, with the money I provided. I turned to leave. I needed space. I needed to breathe without the stale air of their lies suffocating me. Wait, Sarah. Mom called after me, suddenly sounding scared. She finally realized I wasn't just sad, I was gone. We're still family. We'll have a small dinner for you later, after the honeymoon. Just the three of us. We can celebrate properly then. Okay. I stopped at the doorway. I looked at her one last time. She was clutching her hands, her face a mask of pitiful self-preservation. No, Mom, I said, my voice barely a whisper. We won't. I walked out of that house and got into my car. The engine started immediately, but I sat there for 10 minutes, just staring at the steering wheel. I kept thinking about the $30,000. It wasn't just money. It was my education, my career, my ticket out of this small town, this family dynamic. I traded my future for a spot on a guest list I never got. I drove home, my head a mess of logic and raw pain. I spent the next 2 days working. I took every extra shift, every late call, just to drown out the noise in my head. I avoided calls from Mom and Jessica. I wanted to see if they would even try to push back against Carol, to see if their love for me was worth a single awkward conversation. They didn't. On Friday, the day before the wedding, I received a text message from Jessica. Not a call, a text. Hey, sorry about everything. This is harder on me than you think. Wish me luck tomorrow. Love you. Harder on her. That was the last straw. The pure, unadulterated self-absorption. She genuinely thought being the center of a $30,000 performance, bankrolled by her banished sister, was harder than being the banished sister. I didn't reply. I needed to figure out my next move, because I realized one thing. The problem wasn't the $30,000 or the guest list. The problem was that they viewed me as a tool, not a person. And tools don't get invited to the party. They get used and put away. But this tool was about to break, and when it did, it was going to make a hell of a noise. The silence from my mother and sister after our last confrontation was deafening. No calls. No frantic messages trying to fix things. Just Jessica's pathetic text about how the situation was harder on her. It confirmed everything. They weren't capable of real guilt, only regret that the logistics of their perfect wedding were slightly inconvenient. It was Friday night, less than 12 hours before the ceremony. I was home from work, an extra 10-hour shift I'd picked up purely for distraction, and I was finally ready to face the core issue, the money. The $30,000. It wasn't just a number. It was the physical representation of my sacrifice, and now it was a weapon they had turned against me. I logged into my online banking. I knew I couldn't just take it back. It was a transfer signed and sealed, but I wanted to see where it went. I had given it to Mom, and she had promised it would all go to the venue, the caterer, the florist, the immediate costs. But something was nagging at me. The way Mom kept talking about image and status. It felt like they were using the money to project more than just a nice wedding. I did something I hadn't done in years. I logged into our old shared family cloud drive. For years, Mom kept all the important financial documents there, including things she probably forgot about. I was looking for the vendor contracts, the final receipts. It took me 20 minutes of digging through poorly labeled folders. Wedding stuff. Jessica's important. Finance 2024. But I found them. The total costs for the venue, food, drinks, dress, and flowers came to just under $25,000. Not $30,000. I sat back, my heart pounding a weird, heavy rhythm. Where was the other $5,000? I kept scrolling. Then I saw a document dated 3 days prior, the same day Mom told me I was uninvited. It was labeled Honeymoon Upgrade Final. I clicked on it. It was a booking confirmation. A 2-week trip to the Maldives. The cost of the upgrade. Not the whole trip, just the upgrade from a standard villa to an overwater bungalow, was $4,800. They had taken nearly $5,000 of my Berkeley fund, which they didn't need for the actual wedding, and used it to upgrade their luxury honeymoon. They were using my sacrifice to literally elevate themselves above the waterline. While I was left drowning in debt and betrayal, the rage that hit me wasn't hot, explosive anger. It was a cold, precise fury. This wasn't about necessity. This was about greed and convenience. They looked at the excess money and thought, we'll take that too. The final piece of information came from an unexpected place. An old acquaintance, Dennis, who works for a small local event security company, texted me. I worked with him on a few local gigs years ago. Hey Sarah, random question. Is that your sister getting married tomorrow at the Grand Terrace? Yeah, why? I replied immediately. Just saw the job sheet. They've hired 4 extra security guys. Said it was essential for guest management. Pretty big for a wedding that size. Also, heard the mother of the bride was super specific about who to politely redirect if they showed up uninvited. Said the person had mental health issues. Sounded intense. My hands were shaking as I held the phone. Politely redirect. Mental health issues. They hadn't just uninvited me. They had paid extra money to ensure I couldn't even get near the venue. And the justification they used to the security company? That I was mentally unstable. That's how they explained my stressful life to the outside world. They hadn't just erased my contribution. They had preemptively smeared my reputation to cover their tracks. The conflict now wasn't just emotional. It was a physical barrier they had erected around their perfect day, fueled by my money and based on a lie about my sanity. I got out of my chair. My focus was absolute. I looked at the crumpled sheet on the floor, the list of guests I was supposed to be a part of. I saw the address of the Grand Terrace, the most exclusive waterfront venue in the city. I pulled out my phone and called Dennis back. Dennis, hey. About that security detail tomorrow, I said, my voice steady. Can you tell me which entrance the family usually uses for setup and vendor arrivals? The one the general guests don't see? He was confused. Sure. It's the service entrance on the south side. Why? No reason, I lied smoothly. Just curious about logistics. One last thing. Do those 4 extra guys know who they're redirecting? Did they get a photo? Nah, just a description. Tall, dark hair, looks stressed. Kind of vague, honestly. Why are you asking all this, Sarah? Are you planning to show up? I paused, looking at the time. 10:37 p.m. The wedding starts at 4 p.m. tomorrow. No, Dennis. I'm not going to show up, I finally replied. I'm going to send a message. I hung up. I didn't feel hurt anymore. I felt like an accountant who had discovered a massive fraud and was preparing the evidence for the prosecutor. They took my $30,000, uninvited me, used the surplus for a honeymoon upgrade, and branded me as unstable to their hired muscle. They underestimated me for the last time. They treated the money as a gift and my presence as a liability. Tomorrow I was going to turn that liability into a catastrophic reality. Saturday morning broke, gray and unremarkable, which felt deeply appropriate for the magnitude of what was about to happen. I woke up at 6 a.m., showered, and went through the motions of a normal day. But my mind was a high-speed processor running calculations. My $30,000 had bought a flawless, uninterrupted performance for my family and the snooty Carol. They had purchased my silence. The moral dilemma was a physical weight on my chest. I had the power to ruin their day, not just crash it but destroy the illusion they had paid for. I could stand in the middle of their perfect moment and expose the hypocrisy, the financial manipulation, and the blatant cruelty. I could take away the $4,800 honeymoon upgrade, too, by calling the agency and claiming identity theft, which would put a massive, immediate financial stress on them right before they walked down the aisle. But if I did that, what did I become? Did I sink to their level? They acted out of convenience and greed. Would I act out of pure, cold revenge? It felt like burning the entire forest to catch one snake. I spent the morning not thinking about if I should act, but how to deliver the most effective message, the one that would only hit them and not splatter everywhere. I wanted them to know I knew everything. I wanted them to realize that their perfect day was built on my shattered dream. I drove past the Grand Terrace around noon. The setup was massive. White tents, bouquets the size of small cars, expensive cars pulling up with vendors. It was exactly the level of opulence my $30,000 had purchased. The irony was a physical ache. I saw the service entrance Dennis had mentioned. 2 security guys were already posted there, looking bored. Not the 4 extras yet, but they would be there soon. They were looking for a stressed, tall woman with dark hair. I drove home and opened my laptop. I pulled up 2 things. My bank statement showing the $30,000 transfer, and the booking confirmation for the Maldives upgrade. This was the evidence. My first thought was a simple email, A detailed breakdown of the costs sent to Thomas's mother, Carol. I could expose the lie to the person they were trying hardest to impress. That would create chaos, sure, but it was too detached. It wouldn't hit them hard enough. It would feel like a petty, anonymous attack. Then I considered my sister, Jessica. She was the bride, the center of this selfishness. I opened an old, almost unused social media account of mine and found her wedding hashtag. Thousands of people would be following the updates throughout the day. I could post the truth there. But that felt like public humiliation, which was exactly what I was trying to avoid for myself. I didn't want to be that sister. The final dark thought that settled in my mind was the most powerful, and the most dangerous. I scrolled through the list of vendors Mom had hired. I had access to their contacts from my planning phase. I stopped at the DJ. His name was Marcus. He was professional, reliable, and entirely unaware of the family drama. His job was to play music and manage the audio during the toasts. A crucial memory flashed back. Mom and Jessica had emphasized how critical the toast section was. It was the moment Thomas's wealthy, powerful relatives would speak, validating the union. It had to be pristine. The audio had to be perfect. I looked at the clock, 2 p.m. Guests would start arriving in 2 hours. The ceremony was at 4 p.m. I called Marcus, the DJ. "Hey Marcus, it's Sarah, Jessica's sister," I said, my voice friendly and calm, masking the internal turmoil. "Listen, I won't be able to make it today, which is a huge bummer. But I have one quick favor to ask, totally simple logistics thing." "Sure, Sarah, what's up?" he replied, sounding busy and cheerful. "Mom asked me to organize a surprise video compilation for them to play right before the main toasts. The ones from the parents and the best man," I lied. "Just a small personal thing from me. It's about 45 seconds long. Can I email you the file right now? Just cue it up to play immediately after the officiant says, 'You may now kiss the bride.' But before anyone goes to the reception area, the audio needs to be clear." "Wait, not during the toasts?" he asked, trying to confirm the schedule. No, just right after the kiss as they're walking back up the aisle. A little transition video. Mom said she'd explain later, but she's running around. Just check your email and confirm you got the file, okay? Thanks so much, Marcus. You're a lifesaver." I hung up before he could ask any more questions. I immediately opened a simple video editor on my desktop. I didn't need complicated graphics. All I needed was 2 things: text and a high-resolution image of the Maldivian overwater bungalow they had upgraded to. I created a 45-second clip. The screen was black for 5 seconds. Then, in large, stark white text centered, the message appeared. It was slow, deliberate, and entirely free of emotion. "Congratulations, Jessica and Thomas." 5 seconds. "Your $30,000 wedding was beautiful." 5 seconds. "I hope the overwater bungalow upgrade was worth my Berkeley tuition." 10 seconds. "Enjoy the Maldives." 5 seconds. "Sarah." 5 seconds. The final 10 seconds of the video was a slow, high-resolution zoom on the photo of the lavish overwater bungalow, the one paid for by my $4,800. I attached the simple, plain video file to an email addressed to Marcus. Subject: Urgent surprise video, Jessica's sister. I hit send. The decision was made. I wasn't crashing the wedding. I was delivering a personalized surgical strike on their hypocrisy and greed, using their own platform, the perfect moment, against them. The bomb was planted. It was a moral line I had crossed, trading my last shred of self-restraint for an agonizingly earned moment of truth. Now I just had to wait for the ceremony to end. I sat in my apartment staring at the clock, my phone locked in a drawer. I couldn't watch, but I had to know the impact. The moment of truth was scheduled for approximately 4:45 p.m. Right after the vows, right before the cheers, right when my sister and her new husband would be basking in the glow of their perfect, expensive lie. I hadn't heard from Marcus, the DJ. Either he was too busy, or he'd seen the video and was utterly confused. I hoped he hadn't played it early. I needed that precise surgical strike. It had to hit exactly when they felt the safest. At 4:49 p.m., the silence in my apartment was violently broken. My phone, still locked in the drawer, began to vibrate, a frantic, sustained buzzing. It wasn't one call, it was a cascade. First Mom, then Jessica, Then an unknown number that I correctly guessed was Thomas, or maybe even Carol. The buzzing was less a sound and more a panicked alarm, announcing that the bomb had gone off. I retrieved the phone, ignoring the flashing notifications from Mom and Jessica. I scrolled down to a text from Dennis, the security guard contact. It was short and capitalized. "What the fuck, Sarah? The venue is a war zone. They just canceled the reception. Carol is screaming." That was the confirmation. Marcus had played the video. I finally called Mom back. It took 3 tries for her to answer, and when she did, her voice was shredded, unrecognizable. "Sarah, you malicious, cruel child. How dare you? You ruined everything. You ruined her entire life." She shrieked into the phone. The background noise was chaos, a muffled blend of high-pitched sobs, shouting, and general confusion. "I ruined what, Mom?" I asked, my voice calm, almost detached. "The $30,000 wedding I paid for? The one I wasn't invited to? The one where you paid security to treat me like a mentally unstable threat? That was Carol. You don't understand the pressure. Jessica is crying hysterically. Her marriage is ruined before it even started. Carol is talking about voiding the entire agreement. You destroyed us." "No, Mom," I stated, the words measured and cold. "I exposed you. You exposed yourselves when you decided that my life was worth less than a luxury honeymoon upgrade. I showed everyone what $30,000 really bought. A veneer of respectability built on a foundation of betrayal." She screamed again, too incoherent to respond. I could hear Jessica in the background wailing, "I hate her. I hate her." "Tell Jessica I said congratulations," I told Mom. "And tell her to enjoy the overwater bungalow. I'm sure it'll be a beautiful, quiet place for her to think about what she traded for it." I hung up, silencing her frantic screams. The conflict was resolved not with a grand confrontation, but with a public, undeniable moment of truth. My action was pure, calculated consequence. I had lost the money and the sister, but I had gained my voice and my self-respect back. I got a final, unexpected call an hour later. It was Thomas, the groom. His voice was low, furious, but controlled. "Sarah," he said, "listen to me. You messed up. Seriously messed up. My mother is talking to lawyers. She wants to know where that video came from, and she wants every cent of her family's contribution back. You put us in an impossible position. You were in an impossible position when you agreed to marry a woman whose family treated her sister like dirt," I countered. "Did you ever once ask why I wasn't there, Thomas? Or did you just accept the easy lie about tension?" He paused. The silence was thick with his complicity. "Look, my family did contribute more than your $30,000, Sarah. But that video made us all look like manipulative trash. We're on the way to the airport now. Jessica is devastated. What was the point of this? What did you gain?" "I gained clarity," I said simply. "I gained the understanding that my family, including you, valued my money over my presence. And you were willing to lie about my mental state to keep your image clean. I gained the knowledge that I am free from your expectations now. You're alone now, Sarah," he spat out before hanging up. I didn't call anyone else. I sat in my empty apartment, the phone silent now that the immediate explosion was over. The wedding reception had been canceled. The guests were sent home. The illusion was gone. Thomas was right. I was alone. I was 32 with $412 in my bank account, a postponed education, and a family that hated me. But as the sun finally broke through the clouds, lighting up my small, quiet room, I realized something. For years I had been the responsible daughter, the silent helper, the financial anchor. I thought love and gratitude came with the price of endless sacrifice. I had traded my dreams for theirs, only to be deemed too stressful for their party. The $30,000 was gone. But for the first time in my life, the crushing weight of their expectations was gone too. The money was the cost of my freedom. I looked at the calendar. A new month starts tomorrow. I had nothing left to lose, and no one left to disappoint. I picked up my laptop and pulled up the Berkeley application form. I still had the smarts. I could find a way. The question isn't whether it was worth it to destroy their day. The question is, what kind of life starts now when you finally burn the bridge to the people who never truly saw you? I had to figure that out. And I had all the time in the world to do it.